Well, hello, friends. Real quick before we kick off the episode, I have to let you know about something exciting. I am seriously considering having an upgraded version of this podcast where you get bonus episodes and exclusive content. But here's the deal, I'm trying to decide what that content and those episodes should be. I do have some ideas, and I was wondering if you could vote really quick and tell me what you think about what would entice you, what would be interesting to you to get as bonus episodes on this podcast. For example, deeper dives into topics. Maybe I'm answering questions that many of you ask about starting or growing a business. Maybe even overhearing coaching calls, something like this. It would be a paid, upgraded version of this podcast, not very expensive at all, probably just a handful of dollars a month, but it be extra content for you to help you along your journey. My whole goal is to help you build your business dream. And I would love to offer you even more because some of you are asking for it. So if you could just look down in the show notes right now, there's two ways you can give me your answers. Number one, I have a Google form with 5 quick questions. It can be anonymous. You just answer them and vote on what would be interesting to you. Or number two, I have a voice memo system. You can just click it and you could just leave a voice memo with your phone right now and just record it and tell me what kind of topics, what things would be interesting to you behind the scenes, market news, what would be things that would be extra that would be really valuable to you. So thank you all so much. Okay, on to the episode.
Well, hello, this is Kimberly Brock, and for over 20 years, I've been running my own businesses that have not only been profitable, but personally fulfilling to me. So now I'm on a mission to help other new business owners just like you make money doing what you love too. Now we're going to have some fun, so let's get started.
Well, hello, this is Kimberly. It's episode 219, and I'm so glad that you're here today because I'm talking to you about a subject that I don't talk about very often. And this is about pivoting your business. I don't know if you've ever heard the term, but it means when you sort of shift your business into a new direction. Okay. It doesn't mean you close your business. It means you are taking it in a new direction. That's the best way I can summarize it. And I know some of you have felt like maybe you want to pivot your business. Maybe you've tried something, you went for it. I'm so proud of you, but you've realized, you know what? I need to take a different angle. And then maybe some of you are in the idea stage and you've had an idea and you've started doing things and you've all of a sudden went, you know what, this isn't really what I want to do. I want to pivot it. And I've seen those among my clients. And I think it's awesome when you realize that you need to do it so that you don't get in a situation where you're stuck in a business that isn't the best for you. So if you're new here, welcome. You've come on a serious topic, but no, this episode will be fun and we're going to talk about it because this may happen to you at some point in your business journey. You may pivot. Most people do in some way. It's kind of interesting. So we're going to talk about it today. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad that you found this podcast. I have no doubt it's going to help you along your business journey, whether you're in the idea stage, starting or growing. This is the podcast for you. I have tons of free resources for you. So I encourage you right now to scroll down in the show notes and you'll see them. I've got some free printables for you for starting your business, like a whole checklist of everything you need to be doing. If you're in the idea stage, I have a whole guide to help you match up your passions and skills and expertise so you can figure out, what type of business you're really meant to start. And then if you're growing, I've got a private podcast called Consistent Sales Made Simple to help you realize how you are going to get to consistent sales, the strategy that you need to take. So make sure you check that all out. But most importantly, make sure you get in my Facebook group. It's called Women Starting Businesses Doing What We Love. And it's an awesome group of women who are all in these early starting or early growth stages, who may even be pivoting their business as well. This happens. So if this is happening to you right now, you're pivoting your business, congratulations, because you didn't stick with something that isn't working or that you don't love. And I'm so proud of you. You learned so much from your previous business. And if you're pivoting, then hallelujah. I'm so happy for you. So anyways, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Okay, everybody. So get in the Facebook group. If this is you, whether you're in any of the stages or even pivoting, make sure you're in there so you can ask questions, get feedback, get guidance. I know that everyone would love to support you and you can ask those questions that you feel like are silly. They're really not, because everyone else has the same questions too. So make sure you do that. And shout out to my Grow Getters today. Y'all are amazing. I'm so excited for the coming months and everything that is going to be happening for you, because I know in my soul that great things are ahead for each of you. So that is it. On to the episode. Well, hello, everyone. How are you? How is everything going with your business? I'm so excited for all of you. I really am. And at the time of recording this, it's the end of 2023. We're about to embark on a new year. And I love this time to reflect on what we're all doing with our businesses and what our goals are for next year, what our intentions are, right? And for some of you, this may mean pivoting your business. Okay. So first of all, let's clear the air. What is a pivot? A pivot is a change of direction in your business. It sometimes can mean that you close down what you were doing and reopen as something new. But more so, I see it that people keep their business name, they're staying in business, they're just shifting what they're selling or how they're selling it or who they're selling it to, okay? So some of you may have already gone through this, even in the idea stage. If y'all followed me for a while, you know that before I started this business, I was seriously looking into opening a facial spa in my area, okay? I had a consultant. We were looking at all the prices. We were looking at, how long it was going to take me to turn a profit. We were looking at locations. I was looking at all sorts of things. I was thinking about my own facial cleansers and cream, my whole beauty line I was going to create that I was going to sell in the store. Like I was doing this. And then I ended up getting cold feet and I became really scared because it was going to be like $500,000 to invest. And I got cold feet. And I just thought, is there another way that I can have a business without having to invest so much? Right. And luckily, that was the end of 2019. Luckily, I backed out of that because we all know what happened in 2020, right? So it was just a blessing that I pivoted at that moment. So I pivoted in the idea stage, okay? So you may be in this too. I know we've had Grow Getters that have done that, who have come into Grow Getters and been like, okay, I'm doing this. And so we're like, okay, let's move forward. And they start getting into things and they start trying to set up their website and do it. And they realize, you know what? I'm not totally loving this. I like the idea of something different for my business. And it's still along the same lines. It's just a different direction or how they're offering it. And I love that because what it showed is that they went through the motions, they took action, they started doing things, they were in it. And then they realized, you know what, maybe this isn't the best for me. Maybe I'm not very passionate about it, or maybe I'm just having a hard time and this is too much. I want to do it another way. And I love that because that's what gets you to the direction that you need to be. So let's talk about, first of all, these are 5 ways that you might need to pivot, okay? Because sometimes you're just thinking, am I cut out to be a business owner? And that's not really what we're talking about here. I think all of you have I like to say an inner CEO. You have it in you to do this. You just have to want to, and you have to find the right product or service that you are super passionate about, because then this will all work. Right? We hope, right? But it all goes well when it's something you love. The problems occur when it's not something that you love, and then you don't end up strategically doing the things you need to do as a business owner to make it succeed, right? So here's how you know that it's time to pivot. Okay, I think the first one is that there may be changing market conditions or trends. So this is pretty obvious. Like if the world is changing the way that they do things, like here's an extreme example. Blockbuster Video that had the VHS tapes. I mean, that is not popular anymore. And I used to go to a Blockbuster with my friends. We would rent movies, all that stuff. And, that's no longer. Everything went to DVD. And then y'all know how quick DVDs came in for a while, and then boom, everything went digital. It's insane. So there can be big market conditions. Maybe you sell something that's super, super popular, and then maybe it kind of fades out. And so you have to realize, how can I pivot? How can I change the way I'm doing things to meet the market conditions? I mean, I almost think of it, this is just a way that a store pivoted, but I think it's interesting. With COVID, Many businesses had to pivot. Y'all think about grocery stores, how they started offering curbside. And then we've got Instacart and all the deliveries. Like, businesses popped up because of this. Businesses pivoted. I mean, even doctor's appointments. I have doctor's appointments online. That didn't used to be a thing. They pivoted. They pivoted to meet the demands of what was going on in the market conditions. So again, those are extreme examples, but that gives you the idea. So maybe you're selling something that's super trendy right now, but in like a year or two, you have to know that it's going to fade. And then how are you going to pivot, right? So this could be you. You could have been selling something, like you jumped in on a trend and now you realize, okay, I'm going to have to pivot. So that's how you would know. You would know because the market's telling you the trends are changing. Okay. Number 2, the competitive landscape. So this can happen where you have direct competitors that are putting so much money into advertising and everything that you're like, okay, how am I now going to stand out? And you may have to pivot to give yourself a differentiating factor. Okay. So it's just like with physical stores. When I started my first online boutique in 2003, y'all, this was not a thing. This was not a thing, but it was starting. And Amazon was online, but they mainly sold books here in the USA, but they were starting to sell other products, services. I'm like, I want an online store. Okay. And there was a lot of brick and mortar stores that were like, no, we're brick and mortar. We would not go online. Everyone thought it was shady. When I tried to buy for my business, like how retail stores go to market and they buy products and they sell them in their store. Well, that's what I was trying to do for an online store. So I would go around and go to market and be like, okay, I'm starting an online boutique. So I'm doing it. And they're like, no, we don't sell online to online people, only brick and mortar stores. And I was like, what? This is where everything is going. And a lot of them had been in that industry for a long time. So they were maybe an older generation and didn't really see it. So I always think about that with my kids when they are telling me that things are popular or things are going a certain way. I listen, because I know that they have the feet on the street. They know what's going on. And so I listen because things are changing. It's just like even with the presidential elections and stuff, you've got all the young people that are thinking one way, one type of candidate. It may not swing it now, but it may later, right? Because they have a different way of doing things. Anyways, if the competitive landscape changes, then maybe you need to adjust as well. Okay. So just think about that. And can you pivot so that you can stand out, right? What can you be doing? For example, this happened to me when I had my gift boutique that was called Kids Are Fans Too. And we sold all baby and collegiate gifts. I didn't make any of it. It was, I bought it all like a store and I resold it. It was like onesies, pacifiers, baby bottles, sippy cups, the bedding, the whole thing. Right. And I'd been online for a while and had really good placement on Google. So when people were searching for Texas Longhorn baby items or any of the schools that we sold, Florida Gators, whatever, I would come up and things started going well. Well, then I started noticing that, and I would be checking my Google rankings because I watched that. That was my marketing method, was getting found on Google. Okay. I didn't have a physical store. I was only online. There wasn't social media doing all this crazy stuff. That was it. Was Google, making sure I knew enough about search engine optimization to get myself ranked. And I wasn't paying for ads. But I started noticing a site coming up that was huge, and they were doing ads, and they had every school. They had adult and kids stuff. And I started seeing the writing on the wall that it was going to be really hard for me to compete because I didn't want to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into ads. Like, I was enjoying my online boutique. I knew what it would take to go to the next level. I'd have to hire more people. It would turn into this whole thing. And I was like, you know what? I'm loving what I have right now. But I did see the writing on the wall that this big company is coming in. In fact, it was Fanatics, and they're huge. They're huge now. But they were literally a competitor of mine. So at the time I was like, what can I do? We had a gift registry. So we had baby registry. We hand wrapped gifts and wrote written notes. It looked like a boutique when you went online. It was cute. Whereas Fanatics looked more, I don't want to say generic, but do you know what I'm saying? Just like a bigger website that just looks more plain and simple. And ours felt like a boutique. So people were buying baby gifts from us because it felt cuter and you could get the handwritten note and we would gift wrap it and do all that. And so that was my competitive advantage at the time. They would give free shipping on every order. And I'm like, I can't totally afford this. Like they've got to have a minimum order. So there was things that I just couldn't compete. So if somebody was just comparing on price, they might have gone to the other place. But we had people doing their whole gift registry with us and then sending that out to all their friends and family. It was awesome. Okay. So you have to have a way to like pivot. I have to say, okay, what can I do to make sure I'm competitive in this market? Okay. Number 3, if your stuff is not selling and you have exhausted all types of measures, you've maybe gotten coaching, mentorship, help, maybe you've gotten a good website, you have great reviews, like you've done everything, you've done market research and all that, and it's still not working. I think there is a point when you have to cut your losses and you have to say, okay, I may need to pivot. Do I need to be selling something else? Do I need to do it a different way? Let's say you're doing graphic design and you sold templates for people to do it themselves. Well, you may realize, you know what? People aren't liking to do it themselves. I need to pivot to do it done for you. So maybe it's even a more expensive offering, but now you pivot to done for you. You do it for them. And maybe that has a better chance of making more money. Right? So you just have to think about that in whatever industry you're in. Like, why isn't your stuff selling? If you have exhausted everything, why isn't it selling? Is it because not enough people know about it? Then maybe you need to start running Facebook ads and doing things like that to get broader reach. You're going to have to put money into that. But that could actually be the problem, and not that you for sure need to pivot. However, some of you have exhausted a lot of measures, and maybe your business isn't totally an online one. You're more local and stuff, but you're having a hard time to really think about, is it time to pivot and change something else? Have I exhausted all of my options for making sure that I have the best chance of this business succeeding? And if you haven't, pursue those options. Or maybe it's simply that there's not enough people aware and you need to start running Facebook ads. You may have to get help with that. I did an episode on it last week, so you can check that out, 218, if you're thinking about doing Facebook ads. Buyer beware, because you can lose a lot of money in Facebook ads, but they can work very well. I've seen lots of people who've done very well. I've known some that have hired agencies. So, it depends. You could run it yourself or hire an agency, but that's a whole nother story. Okay. So again, let's review while we continue. Changing market conditions could be a reason to pivot. Number 2, the competitive landscape could have changed. Number 3, your stuff just isn't selling and you've exhausted everything. And now you realize, you know what? I need to take another angle. Number 4, this is a big one to me. If you've lost your passion and purpose with this business, the way that you're doing it, maybe it's just the way, like I said, the done for you or the templates where they do it themselves. Like, could it just be that you've lost the passion for a certain way of offering it? It's not the actual thing. You love graphic design. It's just that you've lost your passion for how you're doing it. Or if you really have lost your passion and purpose in this and you're just not feeling it, then maybe it's time to pivot. Okay. Maybe it's time. The last thing I want is for you to be stuck in a business that you can't get out of because now you've hired people, you've got clients waiting on you, but you're not loving it because people are going to start being able to tell. You're probably not going to give us good customer service. You're not going to be enthusiastic when you're selling it, and you're just not going to be at your best. Don't let that happen to you. Okay. And number 5 is, it's time to pivot when you can see a greater opportunity before you. You can see, oh, wait, there is this other angle that I've gotten feedback on that people would really enjoy, or that I've tested and I've seen that people will buy it, that this is a better opportunity. I mean, maybe it does mean you make a massive pivot and you change totally what you're doing. I mean, that can be it, and that's okay. I want y'all to know that if you are at that point where you're like, I literally need to change the type of business that I'm doing, that it's okay, that you're allowed to do that. And that's part of your journey, and to accept that and say, look what I just went through. Look at the learning process that I went through. I'm so proud of myself. I took action. I went for it. I did all these things. The good news is your pivot will go faster because you've got all this experience before you and you've probably been getting help. Maybe you've been like a member of one of my programs or you've had another coach or whatever. You will have had experience there that will propel you forward. Things will move at a faster pace. Okay. So that's the great news. Okay. So that's how you know when you want to pivot. And let me clarify too, that there's small pivots and huge pivots, okay? So a small pivot might be like I said, a small pivot might be like instead of templates, now you do done for you services. So you're still doing the same thing. You're just offering it in a different way. It could be niching down. Like, for example, if I ever wanted to pivot, if I wanted to, right? And I help product-based businesses and service-based businesses and coaches and clients, I could niche down to just one. That would be a pivot. If I start seeing that there's one group that is really my clientele, then that would be a smart business decision, right? To narrow it down. Now, in my case, I haven't found that yet. I'm split. The people in my groups are split. We've got like half product businesses, half service. So, there hasn't been like an obvious split there, but sometimes you will see that. Okay. And, maybe you're a photographer and you've been doing just general portrait photography and now you're going to niche down to baby and kids. You can do that. So that can be what you call is a pivot. Niching down can be a pivot where you're saying, I'm making an announcement. This is really what I'm going to be known for. I heard a podcaster do that. Someone who has a business podcast, and she did that. She niched to just service-based business owners. And she told everyone on her podcast, she even said we lost like half our listeners because of it, but who cares? Because I've got my people in here. The people that are here want to be here and they're my right kind of clientele. So you can do that. Small pivots are actually very strategic and they're smart for your business. So a lot of new business owners start general and then over time, they see exactly who they're meant to serve. And that's kind of their pivot. And what I mean by a pivot is they change their wording on their website or they change the messaging that they're using. All these things that we do in Grow Getters, you're changing that and adapting that to the new way that you're offering what you're offering, right? But there can be big pivots too, like massive pivots, like adding a whole new thing to your business. Like I would think a massive pivot for me, like right now, y'all know my flagship program is Grow Getters to help new business owners get growing and start getting clients and customers consistently and all that good stuff. And I recently added a podcasting program called Bingeworthy because I've had people hire me for coaching for podcasting. And I realized that people wanted this. They wanted to start their own podcast. They didn't know how. And I thought, I'll add that to my repertoire, right? I'll add in my podcasting bootcamp. But a massive pivot for me, for example, would be, I'm not doing this, but I'm just telling you so you have an idea of what I mean, is if I just went all in on podcasting for business owners, which I could do. I could literally do that at some point. But right now, I don't see that. I see me doing what I'm doing. I love working with new business owners and helping them get their whole system together so that their business is a well-oiled machine and they're getting clients and customers consistently. Like I have a heart for that because I know that if they don't put a system in place, their business has a high chance of failing. And that's the truth. And I don't want people like you failing. I want you to be able to succeed in this dream that you have. And I see a lot of new business owners just flail around and they're making random sales and they're just doing random marketing and they're just doing all that. And then they're upset because they're not getting consistent sales. And I'm like, well, let's look at how you're getting customers and clients. How are you attracting them? What are you saying? Where are you showing up? And they don't really have a system, right? So I'm passionate about that. So I don't see that going anywhere, but I'm just saying like that's a massive pivot. Okay. So you have to think about for your business, like down the line, you could have dreams to make a massive pivot. Like you could say, I only want to work with these kind of people later, but right now I've got to pay the bills. So I'm going to keep working with certain kind of people. And maybe down the line, I could make a massive pivot. Okay. It could be maybe you sell some kind of organic body products or something, and you made a massive pivot to just selling organic hair treatments or organic foods or organic, like it's still in the same realm, but it's a big change, right? And half of your clientele would leave because they're not doing that. Like if I pivot to just podcasting, then a ton of people are not going to be listening to my podcast anymore and all that, because it's going to pertain now to people who just have a podcast that are business owners. So that's my point, is that that's a massive change, but there's also little changes that make total sense that are actually very smart too. So how do you pivot? That's kind of the next thing, is like, if you're going, this is me and I felt it and I need to pivot, what do I do? You need to plan your next steps. You need to figure out like, what do you need to do? What would need to happen to pivot? What are the things that you would need to change and adjust and create? Would you need to hire anybody? Would you need to let anybody go? What would this entail? So kind of map it out. Like, what would this entail if I make this pivot? Okay. Then number 2, gather all your resources, what you need to be doing so that you can actually start taking action, like start taking steps, like take them. Once you see that this is actually a viable direction for you, then you can start doing it. And then number 3 is you need to start explaining it to people. And I would clarify, I would announce, y'all, I am now creating a whole new direction because I've gotten feedback from people and I feel pulled to this. I feel called to this. I feel passionate about this. I see that this is smart for our business. This is smart for the direction, for the future of our business. And we are so excited to announce that now we are doing XYZ. Okay. So that's all that it takes to pivot. But before you do it, even though you feel it's the right direction, make sure you verify with your clients and customers and see, like, talk to them and say, does this sound like it's a good idea for me? What do you think about this? And then people that you know that would be the perfect fit for your new pivot, talk to them. See what they say, see what they want. I always recommend that, right? You've got to hear from your people. You can't just be off in your own world making up what you think they're going to buy. You do not know, okay? You do not know. And also, too, beware, because people can tell you in like surveys and stuff like that, oh yeah, that sounds amazing. But when it comes to pulling out their credit card, they don't do it. It needs to be people that would actually invest, that maybe you get beta testers and you have them test, or you put up a website and see if you start getting sales for that one thing or that one offer so that you can test it. Does that make sense? So, in summary, pivoting can feel stressful and feel like some type of failure. And I'm here to tell you that it's actually not. It's part of your journey. It's a stepping stone to your next phase. It's actually a really good thing because it means that you have thought through your business and you're not just sitting back going, yeah, I'm just going to continue this business that I don't like and it's not fun, and you're not giving it your best. Like, that's no good. That is not living your passion. That's not helping people if you're doing it in a way that you're disgruntled and you're not happy and you're almost resentful when people buy, right? That's not a good way. So this is actually an amazing thing when you pivot. So get excited if this is you, that pivoting is taking you into a fresh new direction where you can really live your passion in this business. You can feel fulfilled because you're making a difference, and you can build a successful business out of it. Business is a set of trial and errors and steps and missteps, and it's a long journey, and you've got to power through. It's never going to end. Things are going to be constantly changing. The market trends, everything's changing at such a faster pace. We all know this. So pivoting is most likely inevitable for you at some point. Okay. Well, I'm so excited for all of you. And if you're here listening and you know that you would love coaching and community and help with building your own custom strategy for attracting your right people so you can get customers and clients consistently, make sure you check out Grow Getters below. And if you're looking to start a podcast, I pull back the curtains on everything I've done to make this podcast successful. And I teach you everything, my whole A to Z system for starting your podcast and getting it launched. It's called Bingeworthy. It's my boot camp for new podcasters, and you can check it out below. That is it. Until next time, bye now.
Now, this episode may be over, but our relationship does not have to end here. Head on over to KimberlyBrock.com, and yes, you can get more valuable information for your journey. And you know what? You don't need to go through this alone. I would love to help you. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye.